maybe the Big Ten. And that's, I don't know. Indiana's technically leading the Big Ten at 3-0. So go Hoosiers. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I don't know if a 2-loss Penn State gets in. Like, I don't think there's enough there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beardzone Sports Talk, where the only thing we're biased around here are our beards. I got Carlos, I got Scooter, my name is David. Gentlemen, we're going to jump into everything college football. We got some big games this week on the ticket. But before we get into all of that, do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That is the best way to continue to support us as we grow this college season. Gentlemen, we're going to kick it right off with SEC matchup. We got LSU, we got Ole Miss, we got Lane Kiffin, we got Brian Kelly, coaches who seem to always underperform in the big moments. What are we going to see this game? Who's going to show up to the big game, and who's going to continue to keep their playoff hopes alive this college season?
Dude, this is the academic probation game. This is the I should have won it last week game. Lane Kiffin has an excellent offense and just absolutely couldn't get it done because Kentucky's defense is that much better. I don't know what happened last week. Then you got LSU and Brian Kelly, who just can't seem to win anything except for putting his socks on right. And the dude gets redder than a ginger without sunblock, man. I don't know. This game to me is like, if you can win it, you have a better shot at potentially going to the SEC championship game. If you lose it, you kind of have a shot. Like, after we saw last week, even Vandy beating Bama kind of shook everybody up. Tennessee lost. Arkansas beat, Tennessee. So, I mean, I think Ole Miss is a little more favored in this game. I'm not sure if LSU has the full package. LSU hasn't proven to really put up a ton of points. But if you stop Jackson Dart, and he's probably up there in probably the top 3 or 5 for quarterbacks if he goes in this draft, hands down, he's very accurate. He's slinging it like 90 yards or whatever. I find it really hard for LSU to win this game. Ole Miss can maintain momentum, but the SEC has a long road ahead to this championship game.
Yeah, this is like the game of the good thing is one of them has to win unless they figure out a way to tie, which is not unprobable. So, but Ole Miss, I think, has the better team. It's just, their defense is ranked 12th in the nation, which is very surprising. LSU doesn't, I don't even think their defense is ranked in the top 50. And like Scooter said, Dart is the kid can sling it. So LSU has to put pressure on this kid and then and figure a way to contain Trey Harris, his favorite wide receiver. And then you have Henry Parrish, who started at Ole Miss, went to Miami and did very well. The kid can run, and then he went back to Ole Miss. So, and he's a good runner, man. The kid, he's not big, but he runs hard. I'm trying to remember, like in the NFL days, you have that almost like but he's not as big as Maurice Jones-Drew, but he's got he's not a big guy, but you better get ready. He's coming, bringing it to you. So, the Rebels should win this one, man. But you never know with these two coaches, man. If you're part of their fan bases, unless you have Jalen Daniels or Joe Burrow, Brian Thomas Jr., Justin, like LSU had those big guys, and that's why they were able to win. But the Rebels need this a lot. Lane Kiffin has got to be at some point. He's gonna have to push that SEC envelope and get that Ole Miss team to the top, man, of that, and be able to compete with Georgia, Alabama, and Texas.
So, one of these teams is going to have their second loss of the year. At the end of this week, one of them is going to have 2 losses this year. So that leads me to this question. with the SEC and the new playoff brackets that we are seeing, kind of be birthed this year, can we see, is it realistic for us to be seeing a multiple loss SEC team win the championship for the SEC championship?
I mean, it's possible. The only undefeated team in the SEC right now is Texas, and that's the newcomer. They got to play Oklahoma, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that. But the undefeated team next to them in the conference is Texas A&M, and they got one loss that's outside of conference. So Bama lost, like I said before. Georgia's already lost to Bama. You got Tennessee that got upset too. It's very possible. I mean, realistically, you probably have the top seed for the SEC is probably going to be either a one loss or if Texas can maintain, be undefeated. But as we saw last year, Alabama beat Georgia to get into the playoff. So we could realistically see a 2-loss champion out of the SEC. I wouldn't put it past it with this season, how it's played out so far. And teams are being out-coached. There's a lot of preparation that takes place here, as we saw with Kentucky upsetting Ole Miss and how Arkansas upset Tennessee, Vandy upsetting Bama, right? There's a lot of preparation, and guys are just being out-coached. They're relying on the talent. They're relying on their scheme. They're not accounting for how their opponents are scheming against them and adjusting. Being out-coached, dudes are burning clock when they got like 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns. They're burning clock to make sure that they can succeed. It's honestly, 2-loss SEC champ. I can see it.
Yeah, this when you added Texas and Oklahoma in, it just made the toughest conference that much harder. And it literally, I don't know if anybody can go undefeated through this. I mean, Texas still has Oklahoma, A&M, Georgia, and Kentucky is going to play them tough. They always play everybody tough. Bama's already got a loss. Georgia's already got a loss. And A&M's got to beat Texas, which I don't think they can do. So that championship game, that's going to be interesting, man. Like when they get to it, like, what if you go in with a 1-loss team and then you got a 2-loss team that's playing and the 2-loss team beats a 1-loss team? Like now you got, man, it's going to be super interesting. There's still a lot of football in the SEC to play. Georgia's still got a tough schedule. Alabama's still got a tough schedule. And these are good teams, man. It'd be hard to leave out some of these teams out of the playoffs. I understand the dynamic, but man, these are really good football teams, and they're just going to beat up on each other a little bit. But if Texas can run this table and win out, or A&M, which for A&M would be, that would be huge for them. Wow, man, more props to them because they're the only 2 left with, technically LSU is undefeated in conference play, but they're 1-0, but I feel like they'll get that first loss this weekend.
Yeah. So what does this mean for the other conferences? Because like I said, we have 12 teams now that can make it into the playoffs. And, the top 2 teams from each conference can kind of, that's how this playoff bracket is felt. So can we see a conference like the Big Ten or ACC or someone like that have another 2-loss team? Can they make it into the championship game? Or is this the only conference that is giving a little bit of grace to these teams?
Maybe the Big Ten. And that's, I don't know. Indiana's technically leading the Big Ten at 3-0. So go Hoosiers. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I don't know if a 2-loss Penn State gets in. Like, I don't think there's enough there. Kind of 2-loss Ducks. I don't know. I can see a 1-loss team in there, like maybe Oregon suffers a loss, but if they go to the championship game against Ohio State and they lose again, I don't know if that gets them in. But that's a tough one on there. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. The only one I could see it is Ohio State somehow gets an early loss, comes back, and gets to the championship game, and then man, I don't know how that plays out. Yeah, that's a tough one.
The ACC is bleeding. SMU is, I think, probably their best team outside of Miami. If they could squeeze 2 teams, maybe. Now, two loss in ACC. No, I don't see that happening. Big Ten. The crazy thing about the Big Ten is they took on Washington and Oregon, UCLA, and USC. USC's proven to kind of choke. Just based on how they played against Minnesota, they couldn't close it out. The second half just ran them over. And Michigan is definitely not the team we had last year. Let's be totally honest. That is a completely different team. Donovan Edwards is great, but he's being outshone by the second string guy. I can't even remember his name. They don't even know who's playing quarterback, for Christ's sake.
Well, I mean, they can't throw for more than 50 yards a game. So, I mean, there's that.
And then if they try with Tuttle, the other guy who can't run, he just throws interceptions. So there you go. And Ohio State hasn't played anybody. They're playing the Ducks this week. Oregon probably has the greatest shot to win the conference. Washington plays pretty strong too. Penn State, Big Ten has to have at least one loss. If someone goes undefeated in there and they lose their championship game, and that's their one loss, I could see taking 2 in the Big Ten. But a multiple loss Big Ten, that'd be very hard sell.
Isn't Penn State like you always hear? They always start out with this like long 5, 6, 7, 8-0, but then you never hear anything about them at the end of the year. They find a way to.
It's almost like Notre Dame.
They're like Notre Dame. They find a way to lose, and I just don't see them. Like I always feel like, oh, Penn State's 6-0.
You got BYU in the Big 12 like undefeated too. So and Iowa State. What's going on?
I feel like Penn State can only get in if they stay undefeated. I think a 1-loss Penn State can't get in. They're just, I don't know what it is with them on there, but yeah, it's going to be, it's tough. You're definitely right. There's only one, whoever wins the ACC gets in. I don't think there's a scenario where even a 1-loss ACC team, unless it's the champion that gets in, because you got to get in. But if you were the second place and you lost one, I don't even think that team gets in.
Yeah, Scooter, you mentioned a game, which is a game that I want to dive into because it's going to feature 2 undefeated teams, and that's the Oregon Ducks versus Ohio State. Oregon 5-0, Ohio State 5-0. Oregon, listen, I mean, their last game, I was questioning if they were going to win. Honestly, anytime that they got down there in the red zone, the quarterback ended up throwing an interception. I mean, he got pressured all game. It just felt like every play he was down on the ground. So not the greatest protection that he was getting. But Oregon has continued consistently to find ways to win. And I do like the team. I think that they have a good football team. Obviously, they're undefeated. But Ohio State is got to be their first real test, right? So can Oregon continue to ride this high? Or is OSU going to show them and put them in place to show them who Big Brother really is?
Well, I got a couple things for you. Jason Day sucks. He usually chokes in the big games. Dan Lanning is coming to play at home, dude. I don't understand. ESPN has got to be on some drugs. They got Ohio State is a 64% chance of winning in Autzen Stadium. Oregon, dude. How? Ohio State hasn't played anybody. They've played no one. Okay, I'm just going to list these teams off and tell me if you hear of an actual team here. Akron, no. Western Michigan, no. Marshall, no.
Randy Moss came from Marshall.
Yeah, but that was also like 3 decades ago. Like, Michigan State?
He still came from Marshall.
Michigan State? Are you joking me? They haven't been anything since... Oh, my God. Iowa plays excellent defense. They still got 35 points scored on them and barely scored 1 touchdown. Come on, man. Like, let's be honest here. Iowa hasn't been anything since, 2010, 08, when they got falsely pushed up into the top 10. Okay? And then you got to play the Oregon Ducks. Now, granted, the entirety of their schedule so far, the toughest game that they played was Boise State, and the running back there, it's got to be up for the Heisman. He's putting up some just ridiculous stats. And Boise State still scored 34 points on them. And they're probably the best power or outside the Power 4 conference team that we got right now. And I don't understand what they're doing with this game. Dylan Gabriel's absolutely an excellent quarterback. He's dual threat on top of that. James is still putting up 550 yards on rushing. Dude, the Oregon Ducks haven't changed the style of play that they've had since time began. Dude, it's spread it out, run it, spread it out, pass it, regardless if it's a screen, down the field. Ohio State, man, if they're not passing the ball, they're not doing anything in that game. I know their best receiver is that freshman Smith. Like, Alabama's got Ryan Williams, but I don't know. OSU, to me, with Jason Day, hasn't really produced much. And when I say that is they do the hype like Penn State. They'll win a ton of games, and then they start to fall off the map. And now you got bigger dogs in your conference that are not just named Michigan. Like, the Big Ten was ran by Michigan and Ohio State for probably the past 30 or so years. And now you got to deal with the Ducks. Fear the Duck. Seriously. Dan Lanning is an excellent, excellent coach.
He is. I've never been an Oregon fan. I think they're always overrated. Even when Mario Cristobal was there building, has Oregon even won a national championship I don't even know when they've played for one. They had Justin Herbert at one time.
Probably sometime in the 30s or 40s.
Yeah, I feel like they look great. Those uniforms are awesome. I don't think they're ready for true Big Ten play. I think Ohio State's going to be too big for them, and they're fast where they need to be fast, and I just don't see it going well. I think last week was a fluke for Gabriel. He threw those interceptions. I don't know if that's that. I mean, he's only thrown 3 all year. He might have thrown 2 or 3 of them last week. I know he threw 2 last week for sure, but he's usually keeps it pretty good. But you're right, Jason Day. He's never beaten Michigan. He's weirdly on the hot seat for a team that's hasn't lost very many games over the last few years. But oddly, he is because of that, because he does have it's Ohio State, man. It's a huge program. So they spend a lot of money to get those players in there. It'll be interesting. I'd have to roll with Ohio State on this one. I think Oregon's finally going to see what these big boys in the Big Ten. It's not like the Pac, like they came from, and I don't know. But like Scooter said, they haven't played anybody all year. They have the number 1 defense in the country because they keep playing all these small schools or non-offensive school. Iowa's never known for their offense. So it's all defense and special teams. So we don't really know. Ohio State hasn't been tested, but you got to think the talent pool there is ridiculous. So we'll see. But Jason Day needs to win this game. I don't think he can survive another year if this Ohio State team doesn't stay undefeated, win the Big Ten, and then make a strong push in the playoffs. Michigan is not a factor this year for them, so on there, but it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Oregon stacks up against them.
Yeah, should be good. Let's switch back to the SEC really quick because we do have a team we have 2 teams who are looking really good, and that is going to be, I'm going to say this slow, right? Because in our little pre-meeting, I fumbled the words here, but the Red River rivalry game between Texas Longhorns and Oklahoma Sooners. Hey, look, Ewers and Arch Manning, man, they both look fantastic. I don't know who's going to get the start this week. If Ewers is ready to play, obviously he's going to get the hand to go ahead and go in there. But Texas Longhorns, they're undefeated right now. Oklahoma Sooners are ranked 18th. They have a fantastic defense coming into this game. And I don't know, has Texas offense been tested against a true top defense like Oklahoma?
I don't think it matters, man.
Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan's got a good defense. It's tough. It's like when your offense can't produce, the defense is out there too much. Michigan's got a strong defense. It's just the offense is not helping them any at all. But as a guy that went to high school in Texas and North Texas, there is one thing I did learn. Texas people hate Oklahoma people, and Oklahoma people hate Texas people, man. It is a real thing. It is. They don't play, and this rivalry is huge. I don't know if Ewers will start. I think Manning probably will get the start. I think they're hoping that Ewers will just be available for the game. I don't know if he's ready to actually start. But, man, this is a huge one. But Texas is very, very good. Even with Archie Manning, man, it's like, oh, Brett Favre went down. Oh, just put in this Rodgers kid, and it shouldn't be, you're switching just the same part over. So, yeah, it's a huge rivalry game, man. It is going to be these teams get after it. It's in Oklahoma this year, so man, these people hate each other. It's like Hatfield and McCoys.
I mean, you hit it on the head. They absolutely hit each other. But there was a guy that hit the transfer portal because he understood that Saban left, and Alabama might have a huge hiccup. And there was a team, the Texas Longhorns. And that guy's name is Isaiah Bond. And that has absolutely worked out for him in having two stellar quarterbacks in Ewers and Manning. And Isaiah Bond's only got 360 or so yards and 3 touchdowns. But he is an absolute beast on the field, and he's going to find space. I know Oklahoma has a decent defense, man. They played Auburn, and they struggled against Auburn. And Auburn was supposed to be like Vandy this year. They weren't supposed to be much. They've been very 50-50. But they squeaked it out. And their only losses against Tennessee, which now we're looking at Tennessee going, are they legit? I don't know. But then you got Texas, who went into Michigan and just smacked them around. Yeah, I mean, they played, University of Texas San Antonio, University of Louisiana Monroe, Mississippi State. Mississippi State was kind of like their first test of the SEC, and they still looked phenomenal. I don't know how Texas loses this game, to be honest. Manning's good. Ewers is good. Blue, the running back. The running backs that have come out of Texas recently. Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Brooks. Now you got Blue. It's like, can we find a guy that can't run the ball out of Texas? Like you had Ricky Williams. Come on, man. Now,
isn't that funny? Like you have Texas. Mac Brown was killing it there for decades. And then they go into this lull and then they suck again. And now they're back on top, man. We forget about those years, man. This team wasn't very good a couple of years ago, man. It wasn't that long that this team was just like, ooh, is Texas done? Like the Big 12, there was just no draw anymore. So this move to the SEC helps bring them back to relevance, man. But yeah,
Vince Young,
really
Colt
good.
McCoy.
Yeah, those years they were great.
Yeah.
And then they went into like, we don't know any of these guys. And then Sarkisian gets there and it's like, holy crap, we forgot about all those years of being bad and now we're back on top again. But it's just crazy to think it wasn't that long ago they were not good.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot that there was a very big lull. There was a very big
lengthy list of good quarterbacks.
Yeah, they do, man.
Fair enough.
Baker, Jalen Hurts, coming out, some good guys coming out of there.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I'm going to go with Oklahoma this week. I think Texas will get there first. Yeah,
I got a bet for you. If we'll bet, and if Oklahoma wins, I'll go back home and visit my friends in Texas and wear an Oklahoma jersey.
Oh and gosh. Carlos is no.
And that's it.
Yeah.
My 5 years working there, or living there, I never saw an Oklahoma T-shirt, anything ever of the Sooners ever. No, I never.
The shot.
Yeah, never, man. I'm trying to think back. Was there that
sent
one
him across the border?
Yeah. If you had too many holding penalties in practice, well, we need you to wear this Texas jersey and go over the border because it was only 2 hours away. Like,
Oh man. Well, let's stick with the rivals, right? Because those are honestly, let's be real. College football is nothing without the rivals that go back so many years. And this game is an old rivalry, and that's Tennessee and Florida. And Florida, it doesn't matter how bad they might look. Florida has always been the thorn in the side of Tennessee. Can they continue to do that? Nico should be starting back. Yeah, I think that, he had a little bit of down week last week because he was dealing with an injury, but I think he should be back. When he's out there, this offense is electric. Can Florida keep up this, having the better game against Tennessee this week? I'm gonna say the silence is a no. So
yeah, I don't know, man.
Game.
there's a wise man, wise, famous college football coach that's said that you can't spell Citrus Bowl without UT, and that was Steve Spurrier. I don't know, man. Tennessee with Heupel, when he left UCF, I was like, that's a bold move. He jumped on Tennessee, got all the talent in the world, got all the NIL, right? Nico choked against Arkansas, of all places, right? But UF, if you watch how they play, that defense is very, very good. I don't know what it is, but UF has always been very good at defense. Maybe it's just the swamp. I have no idea. But they need to figure out who the hell's playing quarterback. They need to figure out their identity on offense. And Billy Napier, I think he got a personal foul call for getting in the ref's face and saying some pretty nasty stuff, and I don't blame him at all. And that Tennessee, to me, needs to absolutely prove it. If you beat UF, that's kind of like your prove it game right there, right? And you lost to Arkansas, got it. It was a really terrible game, to be honest with y'all.
It was.
Watching that, it was just awful to watch. But the thing is, though, with the Gators, I think they're starting to find their identity on offense to complement that good defense. And I think moving forward, they do have better light at the end of the tunnel. But if you're Tennessee, you're walking to this game angry as hell, and it's win or there's no shot. Because their schedule doesn't get any better either.
No, and it's always been that Florida just plays Tennessee tough no matter what. I mean, even Peyton Manning couldn't beat him, so.
Hendon Hooker could.
Yeah. Never doubt.
I forgot about that guy. Whoa.
That's because he's been injured.
Yeah, he's been injured.
He's with Detroit now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Scooter hits it a little bit there. Like with that Florida offense, it looks like they're going to run with this 2-quarterback system because they won with it last week and it worked out well. I am not a fan of the 2-quarterback system. It only worked one time that I could see very well, and that was Chris Leak and Tim Tebow. But he doesn't have Tim Tebow. I think Lagway is a good talent, and he's got a ton of potential. But Tebow was just different, and they had the Tebow package, and a lot of that Tebow ran because he was freaking – I mean, the guy for college football players has got to be in the top 5 of all time. But he doesn't have that. And my worry is that with quarterbacks, you got to get one of them in sync a little bit. And if you keep pulling them, like it's hard to get in sync. And really, Lagway's the better of the 2 quarterbacks. I just think I don't understand why he didn't start last week and keep playing this guy, because when he gets, I feel like when he gets his groove, this kid's gonna fly. But Tennessee's got definitely a better defense. It is I mean, last week was the most points that defense gave up last week. It was 19, and they played a couple good teams. So it's going to be we'll see. Nico needs to be really healthy, though, because Florida's going to come after him. So I don't know who to root for here. It's hard to root for the Florida Gators. So I'm going to go Tennessee pulls this one out for them, but it wouldn't be surprising me if this is one of those upsets of the week type deals.
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of Tennessee
That'd
boosters.
be such a brutal. That would be a heartbreak way to end
Be
this.
2 SEC losses too.
Well, and it's not only that, but I mean, I know that we're only, a few weeks in, but we are starting to get to the point where we're starting to see teams' identity, what teams are the real ones, kind of what teams are kind of the posers. And I just, man, Tennessee, they had such a good start to this year, and for them to lose 2 in a row to Arkansas and Florida, I mean, it would just be like, all right.
And you still got to play Georgia.
Yeah,
they don't have an easy schedule.
it's not
coming up.
easy. This is not a game that they need to fumble. Yeah, I mean, let's go Tennessee. Let's go Volunteers. So.
I do have a question for you guys. When you woke up Sunday morning and you went into ESPN, were you surprised? Because I know I was the only one last week that stayed up till 3 a.m. When you guys looked at ESPN, did you guys think you were going to see what you saw in that scoreboard?
No, I thought I was going to wake up to a very sad text message from you, and I would have to call you to check in on you.
Just the guy doing this.
Yeah. Y'all should have lost that game. I'm just saying right now. Here's why. Being out-coached goes to my comment in the beginning. California, your head coach lost you that game. You should have been hiking the ball with 2 seconds left on every single play. You were up by like 3 or 4 touchdowns. Just burn clock. And what did you do? You gave Miami and Cam Ward any shot to win the game. And you were hiking the ball with like 17, 20 seconds left on your play. What are you doing? You had it in the bag.
They did. I mean, 8 minutes into the third quarter, you're up 25.
Yeah.
And I don't care about this targeting call bullcrap. There's so many plays during the game where there's refs missed calls. There was one where the Cal guy runs for the long touchdown. He stepped out of bounds about 30 yards back. The face mask on Cam Ward that wasn't called when he threw the game-winning touchdown. So, and because people are like, "Oh, man's down the field."
Don't talk about no face calling. I'm a Tampa fan.
Like none of that. But you're right. At first, I thought, "Oh, they're being aggressive. They're catching Miami off guard." I kind of liked it, but then going back as being reasonable, they should have. They should have kept running the ball, killed time. That Cal defense was playing pretty well, and boy, did Cam Ward. I think he gets bored in the beginning of the game. He's like, "Yeah, let him get up. I prefer to come back. I play better when I'm behind. Like, what was no fun if we're winning by 20. Let's get down like 25.
Playing with its food before it kills it.
That could not be a better way of putting it right there. He's just like, Yeah. And then the mouse is getting away. He's like, I'll kill it now. But man, that guy makes some plays, man. It just, God, he's fun to watch. It sucks that he's going to be gone next year, but we'll ride this to the national championship.
I don't know, man. Dude, there's some games like, okay, 2 weeks ago, you had the game that came down to the very last play. And I mean, depending on what fan base you're all, it was a catch, it wasn't a catch, whatever. But I mean, then last week there was, I went to bed. I was sitting on the couch. I was watching it. I wanted to watch it because Miami's been really fun to watch. And I think I got to about like 12 minutes into the first quarter, and I was like, all right, this is not the Miami team that I thought it was. So I'm just going to go to bed.
Yeah, best at halftime.
It's like 12 o'clock right now, and I gotta wake up the next morning. So, but hey, man, Cam Ward, he's a beast. The guy's a phenomenal quarterback. I'm a big Cam Ward fan. I really am. And so I thank you for that, Carlos, because if it wasn't for you being a Miami fan, I would not know anything of Cam Ward. That's why I let you guys talk this episode, and I just sit back and, be the pretty face.
If you ever want to test your relationship with your significant other when they're dead asleep at 2:30 in the morning, and they're on the 6-yard line, and he throws a pass, and the guy goes for 77, and you're the guy who's not thinking and reaches over and grabs her leg, and is like, yeah, that tests the amount of love. And I can tell you at 2:30 in the morning, there's not a lot of love there, but.
Don't show the stab wound. Just...
Yeah.
I just put new dressing on it. It's healing.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, hey, this is what college football is all about. So, and I told this to my wife and my kids the other day because they were complaining because we have this thing. It's called Football Sunday, right? I know NFL, not college, but Football Sunday. And I tell them, they're like, "What are we watching?" I'm like, "The football game." They're like, "Oh." I'm like, "Listen, I watch your crap 6 days a week. You got to put up with mine for one day out of the week, and it's only for 20, 21 weeks. So deal with it, all right? Because the rest of the time, I have to watch the crap that you put on TV. So they can learn how to make the sacrifice, and your significant other is learning that. So hey, it's a growing pain. But seriously, yeah, man, clean that up because that can get infected.
It's in
I
the
will
pediatric.
say, Dave. Hopefully your kids come around like mine, where they were complaining on Saturdays and Sundays, and then they were like, "That's holding. That's holding." I'm like, "Yes, yes."
Mine are like, did you start Garrett Wilson or not? I did. Don't worry. I see the 13 catches. He's in the lineup.
I'm still in the. I'm gotta be persistent with these, so I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on these kids yet. So there is still hope for the next generation. So, but let us know down in the comments who you guys are rocking with. Shout out your school down there. Shout out your team. We love to see all that in the comment section. Do us a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, because that is the best way to continue to support us this college football season. We are going to be here every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, giving you all of our intake on big college football games that week, all the way up until the national championship game. So definitely, lock in for the season with us. But we appreciate you guys. Follow us on all of our social medias. They are down in the description below. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and definitely give us a follow on there. So, but until here it is. Till next Wednesday.
Is that blood?
Oh my
Beardzone out.